This is Monty in the Morning, the show Phoenix Magazine readers voted #1 talk radio show in Arizona.
#1 during your morning commute.
#1 whenever news breaks during your day.
And #1 whenever and wherever you want to talk sports.
Now it's time for Monty in the Morning.
Hey, yo, man, the Monty Show is live on YouTube and in your podcasts. How the heck are you? We have got a lot of Utah Jazz to talk about today, from Utah Jazz trades to Utah Jazz uniforms. Lots of Utah Jazz today. We've got to talk about Kyle Whittingham at the University of Utah. Big money day for Kyle Whittingham. We'll give you the latest details on that. And what are the interesting kickers financially at the University of Utah for Kyle Whittingham? We'll talk all about that coming up on the show. Chakra Bra will be on the show today. My wife mocked me yesterday for wanting to rub my toes for energy.
Whoa.
And a disastrous day yesterday for the Audi SQ5. Disaster strikes the Audi SQ5. Really difficult day.
Yeah.
Really difficult day. But without further ado, let's talk Utah Jazz basketball here on the Monty Show. After you hit subscribe, after you give us a like and a thumbs up, please, if you're here right now, hit the thumbs up button. It really does help the show grow. We are giving away a PlayStation 5. We're just about 300 subscribers away from doing that. All you have to do is hit subscribe, give us a thumbs up. If you happen to leave a comment saying you did so, that would be Narbra. But we appreciate every one of you being here. And the Utah Jazz are trying to make a trade with the Atlanta Hawks, and there seems to be one tipping point when it comes to the Utah Jazz being able to execute this trade with the Atlanta Hawks, and that is Kevin Huerter versus DeAndre Hunter. And the Utah Jazz are pretty adamant that if they're going to trade Rudy Gobert and another player, that they have got to get DeAndre Hunter in return wearing a Utah Jazz uniform to make this trade happen. And I think it's absolutely the right decision. It's absolutely the right tact for the Utah Jazz, for the Utah Jazz and Danny Ainge to take to demand DeAndre Hunter in this deal. Because frankly, for those of you who don't know, Kevin Huerter of the Atlanta Hawks just signed a massive $65 million extension that is going to pay him $15 million a year that kicks in this coming season. And if you are the Utah Jazz, that doesn't make a lot of sense financially, because the framework of this deal that we have been told by NBA sources is John Collins, Clint Capella, and DeAndre Hunter in exchange for Rudy Gobert, and in all likelihood, Royce O'Neal. Going to Atlanta, by the way, also, Atlanta would send their first-round pick from this coming NBA draft in exchange for Rudy Gobert, Royce O'Neal, and potentially, I think, a third player that very likely could be Jared Butler, but that's all to be determined. Jake, should the Utah Jazz make a deal that doesn't include DeAndre Hunter?
No, absolutely not. And I think that DeAndre Hunter needs to be the cornerstone of this deal. I think for so long now, we've talked about how the Utah Jazz need wing defense, and they need a guy who can create his own shot besides Donovan Mitchell. And that's exactly what DeAndre Hunter brings. And I think that, DeAndre Hunter is somebody who, he is a younger guy. He is a young guy, a lot of athleticism, really great defender, somebody who just has good defensive instincts, understands how to eat space, and understands when to be aggressive, when not to be. Like, that's the type of guy that I'm looking for when I'm trading a franchise player and a cornerstone of my current setup, and that's, like it or hate it, wherever you come down on Rudy Gobert, that's who he is. He is like we've been saying, he's an all-star, multi-time defensive player of the year, but he is a cornerstone of the Utah Jazz as it's currently constituted. And that's why I say, if you're going to be trading guys like Rudy Gobert, you damn well better be getting exactly what you want back, because and this is the problem. The Atlanta Hawks are probably operating in a space where they feel like, hey, we could get, we have multiple deals we're going to do. We don't have to do this deal with the Utah Jazz, but we'd really like to get Rudy Gobert. We'd like to have him on our squad. And the problem is that we don't want to give up DeAndre Hunter because of that defense. And I'm here to tell you that if I'm Danny Ainge, I'm saying that's a must-have. I'm saying that that's a top priority for us to get back. We're not looking to bring in another big in Capella and a guy who is a pretty damn good shooter in Kevin Huerter and can create his own a little bit. We're not looking to bring those guys in without bringing in defense. So that's why I say, at the end of the day, the Utah Jazz need to be stubborn on this one. The Utah Jazz need to do what it takes to get DeAndre Hunter, because if you can get him and you can put him on the floor at the same time with Donovan Mitchell, and Don's got a guy he can work off of a little bit, that's going to make Donovan Mitchell a better basketball player. That's going to make the Jazz more effective offensively. And so, yeah, I don't, to answer the question directly, no, they shouldn't make a deal if DeAndre Hunter is not included. I would be looking at other options if the Hawks are saying we're not including DeAndre Hunter in this deal.
Yeah, I think it is something that is critical. You're only going to get a chance to trade a guy like Rudy Gobert, hopefully once a generation. I mean, giving up a guy like Rudy Gobert should come with a significant return. You're not desperate to make this deal. You would like to make this deal. And honestly, you do need to trade Rudy Gobert. For financial reasons, you need to make this deal. But you cannot give Rudy Gobert away. This is a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. And by all accounts, the Utah Jazz have the best defensive stopper in the NBA with Rudy Gobert. But the Utah Jazz also know that they've got to do something to get their financial house in order. And right now, it would seem the best way for the Utah Jazz to do that is to trade Rudy Gobert. DeAndre Hunter, though, he is everything that you need. What you were just saying, I think, is spot on. His defense, look no further than the way he handled the Dallas Mavericks this year on both the offensive and the defensive end. Look no further than the fact that DeAndre Hunter's a guy who can play at 3 different levels. He'll dunk on you, he'll hit it in the mid-range, and he can shoot the 3 a little bit. Now, he's a young player that's going to have to get better, and he's going to have to grow, but that's every player.
Right.
So I feel like I don't even know that there's a conversation to be had. And, you know, what our NBA sources are telling us about this deal last night at about 9 o'clock Mountain Time, we found out that the Atlanta Hawks have kind of put the cooler on this because they want to trade Kevin Huerter. They do not want to trade DeAndre Hunter. And if I'm the Utah Jazz, I think I'm doing the exact right thing by holding firm on DeAndre Hunter. Mm-hmm. And if you can't get DeAndre Hunter from the Atlanta Hawks, the Utah Jazz don't have, you know, like their panhandling shoes on. Like, this is a team that can go make a deal. Now, granted, I think the Bulls deal is far less attractive. I think the better deal, frankly, is the Atlanta deal. But it's not like if you're the Utah Jazz, you're begging Toronto to make a deal.
Yeah.
There are other deals out there for Rudy Gobert. But if you can get John Collins and if you can get DeAndre Hunter and you can get back into the first round of this draft, that's the deal you want to make.
Yeah.
And I don't think that deal is readily available to you in Chicago, because Nikola Vucevic, to me, is just not nearly as attractive as what you're getting with Collins and even with Clint Capella. I mean, Clint Capella, for everything he's not, actually can defend the pick and roll at a pretty decent level.
Yeah.
So, Jake, I think, by the way, I think the Utah Jazz have to find guys who can defend the pick and roll.
Yeah, and I think the problem with the Chicago trade for the Utah Jazz is that Chicago is unwilling on any level. It's a non-starter to talk about Ayo Dosunmu and Patrick Williams. Those two guys, they've taken those two guys off the table. They're trying to move, an 18th pick, right, and Kobe White. That's what they're trying to do. And obviously, in a Rudy Gobert trade, they're going to move Vucevic as well. So to me, when I'm looking at these trades for the Jazz, I like Atlanta and Toronto way more than I like Chicago. Now that Chicago's taken those two players off of the table, I think I like the prospect of. And again, we haven't even gotten to Mike Conley or Bogey yet, as far as trades are concerned. But let's assume that those two guys are still here, which I don't think they will be. But let's assume that they are. I like the sound of Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley, John Collins, DeAndre Hunter, and Bojan Bogdanovic standing in the corner. I like that. I like how that pans out. I like the athleticism on the floor. I like the defense on the floor. I like the way those guys work together, how their games kind of play together. And I also like the pace with which that would allow you to play, right? Like if you have those guys, you can play way faster. You can do a lot more on offense. We haven't even got to who the Utah Jazz are going to hire for a head coaching position. We all know that process is playing out, but I'm just talking about strictly from X's and O's, forget the money, X's and O's on the floor, how these guys pan out playing together. I like the way that looks. And I also think that bringing in fresh blood and new talent and new guys and new opinions and voices is going to allow Donovan Mitchell to step into the leadership role that we've been waiting for him to step into for 2 years now, And I think moving Rudy out and bringing these guys in would really, help this squad and hopefully keep them relevant and hopefully keep them as a postseason contender. But when I look at that Chicago deal, I'm not a huge fan of that deal now. I'm not interested in picking up a guy in Kobe White who has, struggled with injuries a bit and is not a dynamic player. Yes, he's good in transition. Yes, he can handle and he can shoot a little bit. But he's not the defender that DeAndre Hunter is. He's definitely not the contributor that John Collins is, in my opinion. So that's why I say the Atlanta deal for the Utah Jazz is the deal you want them to make. The problem is that Danny Ainge has to figure out how to basically, leverage the Hawks into including DeAndre Hunter. Because I'm okay. Like, if it came out tomorrow that the deal was Rudy, Royce, and Jared Butler for DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, and Capella, or DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, and Herter, let's say, okay, I can work with that. I can work with that.
Yes.
That's not a bad deal. Do I want to be taking on Kevin Herter's contract? No, I don't. But I'm going to do what I need to do to get DeAndre Hunter. That's how much I'd prioritize him if I'm the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly the right tack to take. And I think one of the things we're hearing about is that the Jazz are driving a tough bargain here. They're asking a very high bounty for Rudy Gobert. And again, not to be redundant, but the Utah Jazz are not, or hopefully should not, and will not be in a position to trade a guy like Rudy Gobert anytime soon.
Yeah.
And when you make this deal, it's got to be an earth-shattering deal. It's got to be something that changes who you are as a basketball team. And if we want to talk about the Utah Jazz in terms of their DNA, this deal needs to be that type of deal.
Yeah.
And if you can put Donovan Mitchell and DeAndre Hunter next to each other for the next 5 years, and if you make this deal, you can't tell me this doesn't end all the, well, Donovan Mitchell wants out. Mm-hmm. This ends all of that.
Yeah.
This trade with Atlanta, as long as DeAndre Hunter is in that deal, that to me makes a difference. It then means it doesn't matter if you include Jared Butler or Trent Forrest. It doesn't matter if you trade Azubuike. The Utah Jazz with this trade give themselves enormous flexibility. Again, it's a $50 million deal. It's a huge deal.
Facts.
You are not relieving yourself of luxury tax obligations.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one downside to it. You are still paying an enormous amount of salary and penalties, and you become a repeat offender of the salary cap, of the salary tax, the luxury tax, excuse me. I'm melting down.
Yeah, but the benefit
just
of it.
in ecstasy and excitement.
You're so damn excited about the fact that they're going to take one guy who can only do so much and turn it into four guys that you're having trouble explaining it. And I don't blame you, man. I really don't blame you. I mean, I would be excited too. I think that I think that whether, it just depends who you get, like I don't want, the big thing I'm worried about with this whole situation for the Utah Jazz and Danny Ainge is, like you were saying, they're asking a lot. There is a line in negotiation in anything that you're negotiating, whether you're selling your fridge out of your kitchen or you're trying to trade Rudy Gobert. You can't ask so much that people lose respect for what you're asking for. And that's the only thing that I'm just a touch concerned about, because while the Utah Jazz value Rudy Gobert extremely highly, as they should, not saying that's wrong, but while they value him at a certain level, the league is not going to value him at that same similar level. They're going to say, yes, he's a rim protector. Yes, he is one of the best bigs in the league. Yes, he is an all-star caliber player. And yes, we're willing to give you an all-star in return. We absolutely are.
Yeah.
But where the issues come in are when we're talking picks or when we're talking about, DeAndre Hunter versus, Kevin Huerter. That's where the issue comes in. And that's why I say, like, yes, I would drive a hard bargain, but I'd be saying to the Atlanta Hawks, dude, this deal only happens if DeAndre Hunter's in the deal. You need to accept that, and then let me know what you think as far as the rest of the deal is concerned.
Yeah, and I think this is why it's so difficult to make 1v1 trades. Like, it's very difficult to just have a 2-team deal because, again, it's a $50 million deal. And if you can include a third team in this deal, if you can include a team like the Miami Heat, who we know have interest in Bojan Bogdanovic, or if you can include...
Well, we know they have interest in Donovan Mitchell too, right? Because he went to a birthday party they had meetings and stuff.
And the pictures and stuff. Anyway, my point is, exactly. My point is that I think you have to, if you are the Utah Jazz, you better be driving a hard bargain.
Yeah.
And I think if you're the Jazz and you can find a third team to dance with here, I think that makes this deal a lot more palatable.
Yeah.
It probably nets you an extra draft pick because think about it this way. If you're willing to take on John Collins and Clint Capella, which again, I'm not sure that I would want to do that. The money that you have tied up in those guys, and maybe you move one of those guys at the deadline next winter, I don't know. But the money that you're bringing back, I mean, you're talking about a $52 million return. I mean, that is a significant amount of money that I think it's incoming cap. The incoming cap number on that deal is $51.5 million. That is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you are sending $49.5 million. So you're adding $2 million to your cap.
Yeah.
Depending on what you do. And that's with Collins, Capella, and Hunter. That's why I'm telling you, it's untenable. It's absolutely untenable to take back Kevin Huerter in this deal. If you're taking Collins, if you are taking Clint Capella is an $18 million player. John Collins is a $23.5 million player who just signed an extension.
Yeah.
Then on top of that, you're going to take Kevin Huerter's $65 million guaranteed that kicks in this season. That's not a smart financial deal.
Yeah.
To me, that the Kevin Huerter, DeAndre Hunter part of this deal is the deal breaker. And that's why, according to NBA sources, the Atlanta Hawks have cooled on this deal. And if I'm Danny Ainge, I am not going back to the Atlanta Hawks without DeAndre Hunter. I'm not. And listen, if you feel like you can move Clint Capella, okay, great. This feels like a deal to me, Jake, that needs a third team. Yeah. I think that's how you get this done.
Well, and I think we've been saying that for a long time, that just generally speaking, in the big picture for the Utah Jazz, that a third team in the Rudy Gobert trade is definitely going to help things and smooth things out and up the efficiency of getting something done. But again, you have other rumors, going around, and again, this is Twitterville, this is, Rumorville. But there's a rumor going around that the Jazz are interested in trading Mike Conley for KCP from Washington. And so when I see that and I start thinking about who third teams would be, I mean, sure, you could try to get, Washington or maybe a Charlotte involved or I don't know, maybe Houston, who just dealt Christian Wood to the Mavericks yesterday. Like, there are teams around who want to do deals and who want movement and who want to change their roster a bit. So if I'm Danny Ainge, that's definitely something I'm looking at, because clearly the Atlanta Hawks are not in a place where they're feeling like what the Jazz have to offer is worth it to give up DeAndre Hunter in addition to what the Jazz are already asking for. So I think that this is the science, the process, the fascination with trade season and with impending free agency coming. That's what I love about this time of year for the Utah Jazz and for the NBA. All of these conversations about, hey, I got this guy and I want that guy. What's the bridge to get it done? That conversation in context with what's happening in the organization is what I love about this time of year. We don't get this any other time of year, but this time of year, I just love talking about it.
Yeah, I think, again, Cantavius Caldwell-Pope is making $14 million. Mike Conley makes $21. I mean, that's probably a deal that works on some level. But again, I just think you're asking for trouble when you're starting to take on that kind of money. in a 1v1 situation.
Yeah.
So, hey, listen, if you can, I would absolutely flip Mike Conley for Cantavius Caldwell-Pope. I would. I mean, Cantavius is a guy that shot the Lakers to a championship. He is a very good three-point shooter. He's a limited, player in scale. He's an excellent defender. Cantavius is. So, yeah, I could see that deal working, but we'll see. I don't know. I don't know what Atlanta is willing to do because by all accounts, and again, we were told directly by sources we trust completely that the Atlanta Hawks have cooled on this deal because they don't want to trade DeAndre Hunter.
Right.
And I totally get it. But if you want to move Collins and if you want to move Capella, you're going to have to pay a price. And the question is, does that mean they don't include a first-round pick? Does that mean that you have to get a third team involved? My feeling is Danny Ainge knows how to get these deals done. I think we all know that. It's just a matter of what his tolerance is for adding that third team. All right, let's get your thoughts in here. Forrest G, first one in, says good morning. Cody Strickland says morning, men. Mitchell Harding says what's up. Hope you are well as well. Mitchell Harding, it is, what do you guys like about Colby White? It's Kobe White.
Yeah.
Not Colby White. Kobe White is a gas can.
Yeah.
He's a guy that gets up and down the floor. The injuries kind of concern you. The missed games concern you. The lack of upward movement in his growth kind of concerns you.
He's Jared Butler 2.0. I mean, let's be honest.
Nah, he's a better player than Jared Butler.
Well,
he's a better player than Jared
but
Butler.
He hasn't shown the ability to get traction the way the Utah Jazz would need him to have traction. I mean, you're talking about a guy who can get up and down. You're talking about a guy
who can shoot the three. He can get to the basket
a little bit. But again, yes, he can do those things. But he's not someone that I'd have starting on my team. I'd bring him off the bench for a firecracker role, in a similar fashion to what Clarkson does. But Clarkson is a much better player than Kobe White is, in my opinion. I don't even think that's a discussion.
But see, I think Kobe White's a role player. I think Jordan Clarkson is a foundational piece of your rotation. Kobe White's a role player.
Yeah.
He's a guy that is a bench player in Chicago. He's a guy that serves, as depth at the point guard. He can give you some points. He's a guy out of North Carolina that, frankly, had a lot more upside potential than we've seen him. And a lot of it, I think, is because he has not played a full season. Like, this year he played 61 games with an injury, so he missed 20 games. But he's also a guy that shoots 54% effective field goal percentage, which is not terrible. But when you start looking at his ability to shoot the ball, you would like to see him shoot a higher percentage from three. Certainly, you'd like to see him grow. You'd like to see him become more of a pure point guard. I think he likes to score more than he likes to distribute. That's today's NBA. Mm-hmm. Kobe White is a role player. He is not somebody that you bring in to finish off your championship roster. That's not who Kobe White's shown himself to be.
Right.
So I like him because he plays a role off the bench. And frankly, he's not going to be a problem. That's what I like about Kobe White. Neville93, good morning to you. Tanner Plummer, what's up? Hi, Tanner. Hey, buddy.
Hey, guys.
Tanner says, based on what we saw yesterday regarding Jazz uniforms, it looks like Utah is about to take another L. So there have been a lot of leaks out there, and we've talked about what we've heard about the uniforms. I think we said Monday that we were told that, those uniforms are legit, and that you will be getting a purple, I think it was just described as a Purple Mountain Retro.
Yeah.
And that's what we were told yesterday. I was sent a picture over text confirming that those uniforms are, in fact, the plain black and white uniform with one color, yellow, gold kind of stuff. It's not ideal. That's going to be their uniform. And my wife's like, oh, you mean the practice jerseys?
No, what happened was, and this is a really key point. What happened was you rolled out a picture, showed Mrs. Monty, hey, this is the Jazz new uniforms. Oh, are those college uniforms?
Yes.
That's precisely what she said, and I couldn't agree more. They look like Oregon uniforms, man. Like, I
No,
know
they look like Dixie State uniforms. They look like a D2. It's not a good look. Now, I was also told by my sources at the Jazz that they look much better in person than they do in the pictures and the renderings.
Mm-hmm.
That when you see them on players, that you are going to be impressed.
So quite literally, seeing is believing is what we're saying.
That's, take note.
Yeah.
Listen, I love the Purple Mountain Retro as it was described to me. I love that. To his credit, the Twitter account Jazz Nation tweeted out a picture of the floor that supposedly is going along with this. And, to his credit, Jazz Nation has done a very nice job. If it's in fact true that that's the floor and these are the uniforms, this is hugely disappointing. And all I can hope is that the City Edition jersey is fire, because I think this, if we're giving, my favorite uniform is the Navy Jazz uniform.
Yeah.
That's my favorite uniform. That's the one. A god fucking spider.
Bro, are you okay, man?
There's a spider
okay?
on my arm. I am a tasty nugget.
Damn.
I hate spiders. And so many spiders lately.
It's because it's warming up.
And shut up. Anyway.
Yeah, it's warming up.
Don't make excuses for spiders. Just burn the house down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway. This Jazz uniform is not ideal. It's not ideal.
Yeah.
Jeremy Bolton says, howdy, everybody. JB, good to see you. Dane, good morning to you. Spencer D.
The D.
Says Boston in 7. Good luck. Gabe Ledley says, my dudes. Gabe, good to see you. James Knight, where's my 4X gold? He says, how they hanging, lads? Hanging just fine. John Jackson says, worst case scenario, is it best to take whatever you can get for Rudy or hold him for another year for a better deal? There's no such thing as taking what you can get.
Yeah.
There's also no such thing as holding him for another year.
Yeah.
That's not going to work. So, I think you've made it pretty clear. You're building around Donovan Mitchell. You're going to do everything you can do to play to his strengths. DeAndre Hunter certainly does that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, he does.
And I just don't think that Danny Ainge is gonna allow, is gonna allow himself to get in a position with this whole trade conversation. He's not gonna allow himself to get into a position where he's like, all right, time's ticking. I'm at the end of the rope here. I just got to do what I can do. Like, you're not. He's not going to get into that position. It's much like the coaching thing. You're going to have as many conversations as possible. You're going to lay out all those conversations on a table, and then you're going to decide what you want to do and what's best for the organization based on the player you're getting and the tax ramifications.
Yes,
that's what you're going to do. And I think that for so long the Utah Jazz were run by somebody in Dennis Lindsey who did not do that, who did not have a process, who just said, oh, well, Rudy is, at the time, I think a two-time Defensive Player of the Year and somebody who's an all-star, so we're going to just max him out and pay him the most we can pay him and hope for the best. And that's not what's happening now. Yeah, and I think Dennis Lindsey was the kind of executive who would fold. Dennis Lindsey is... for better or worse, Dennis made some good deals. Dennis made some terrible deals. He was awful in the draft room. Yeah. Danny Ainge is not the guy that folds on trades. Does he always win? No. But does he get the deal done that he wants to get done usually? Yeah. He's an executive that knows how to operate in this league, and let's hope that he proves that. Dante May says Danny isn't folding on Hunter, nor should he. No. Eric and Raleigh says Rudy for a bag of basketballs. Who says no? Wow. That's what I said yesterday, dude. Like, that can't happen.
No. Ryan Buckley says, morning, guys. What's up, Buck? Good to see you. Eric also says the Jazz need a solid starter and a 2-rotation contributor in the Gobert deal at the very least. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and that's why I say, like, it's not just that, we think that DeAndre Hunter is like the greatest thing since sliced bread. I think the true value of him is not just the defense or not just that he can create his own shot, but more so that you can put him on the floor with Don.
Yes.
It makes Don a better player. It makes the starting group a better group. And he's going to be a low-key guy. Like, and low-key meaning he's not going to be a problem for you. He's never been somebody who's caused locker room issues in Atlanta.
Yes.
I just don't see him being that guy.
That's correct. I agree. I totally agree. James Knight says the Rudy trade needs to be profitable Otherwise, there will be a pissed off fan base. Well,
Well, after already being pissed off about these jerseys.
much to Tricky T's point. Tanner makes a really good point. The Jazz need a win because you're looking in a situation where this uniform had better be fire when you stick it on that ad. Because if it's not good on the player, it's not going to be approved by this fan base. And you're coming off of a very difficult playoff run for the last 3 years. And now you're trading one of the beloved members of the Jazz fan base.
Yeah, any way you slice it. I mean, there is a large swath of the fan base who likes Rudy Gobert.
And there's going to be a large swath of the fan base that'll be pissed off. And you know what I say? Who cares?
Yeah.
Make the best deal that you think is going to bring you closer to a championship.
Yeah, agree.
Because
completely.
winning games is what, ails everything.
Yeah, and the fans are going
Cures all that ails you.
The fans are going to forget about Rudy Gobert when you're in the postseason going further than you ever have.
Jeremy Bolton, seems like for this Atlanta trade to finalize, you'd need to involve another team so Atlanta feels like they get what they want, if not from the Jazz. Yeah.
Completely agree. That's why they don't want to give up DeAndre Hunter, because they don't feel like the Jazz are giving them what they need, or giving them like adequate value back for DeAndre.
Which is why I think you have to include Jared Butler or Trent Forrest.
Yeah.
I think it's not optional. I think if you are the Jazz and you send Rudy Gobert, Royce O'Neal, and Trent Forrest, I mean, you're giving them more options. DeAndre Hunter's not somebody you're replacing off this Jazz roster. You're not. So I agree. A third team is important. Spencer D says 3-team trade. Let's get two-way lob god London throwing it to Collins. John Collins is a nice player.
Yeah.
I think
defense, he's got bunnies, he can shoot, like he can play.
I'm telling you. Eric and Raleigh, do you think Herter's contract, if the Hawks give number 16 this year and another first rounder in the future, I don't take his contract. Look, Kevin Herter's a decent player. He's not a $15 million a year guy.
Yeah.
Not on this team.
But the problem is, see, and this is what I mean. See, so like the Jazz, if they're going to continue to ask for DeAndre Hunter, they're going to have to take a Kevin Herter in the deal or something like that.
But then I'm not taking Clint Capella.
Well,
in my opinion, John Collins and DeAndre Hunter are the starting point, not the end point.
Yeah.
That's the starting point. Okay, how much pain am I going to have to take in return to get DeAndre Hunter?
Yes.
Does that mean I have to take Capella? Okay, I'm willing to do that. I'm not taking Collins, Capella, Herter, and Hunter. I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't take $30 million in shit contracts in return because I'm already in that position.
So you better check yourself.
You know what I mean? Like you can't do that.
Yeah.
In my opinion anyways. Mesh says DeAndre Hunter is the real deal. Has flashes of Kawhi Leonard. Obviously not that good, but sky is the limit. Spot on.
Yeah, and I think that the best part about him is his mentality. He wants to play defense. He wants to play defense, and then he wants to run and get out in transition.
He takes joy in fighting through screens to stop Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
We don't have a guy on this roster that does that for the Utah Jazz.
Agreed.
You don't. Jeremy Bolton, wait, I'm doubting about the uniforms, but I thought the Jazz were keeping that so close to the vest. They were willing to fire fools if the jerseys got leaked. Well, now you're a day away. You're trying to now build momentum and excitement.
There's a there's a process that plays out here. So we've been talking about, the new uniform unveil and like sort of this rebranding. And really what I like to call this is, Utah Jazz owner Ryan Smith putting his stamp on the organization, because that's ultimately what this is.
Yeah, you've been running with that theory.
That's what this is. I mean, think about who Ryan Smith is. Ryan Smith is someone who grew up in Utah, lifelong Jazz fan, but also Ryan Smith is a tech genius. He is a tech billionaire. That's what's allowed him to buy the team. And so when I think about Ryan Smith, what I think about is a guy who has repeatedly said, not only in podcast interviews, in the Quinn presser, it's been multiple times that he said he wants to carry on the legacy of the Millers, and he wants to do it in a way that really pays homage to them.
Yes.
So what does that mean in terms of the jerseys? What that means is, as you put it yesterday on the show, the daily driver, the one that they're going to wear most of the time, is going to be in Ryan's image. Clean cut, new colorways, totally different than what we've seen. But to honor what's past, to honor the John Stocktons and, all the players in the past who have done great things in the organization, to honor the Millers, we're going to have a throwback with a floor and a jersey to go with it. We're going to have, these different things that pay homage. So that's why I say this is hardly just about a rebrand. This is Ryan Smith putting his stamp on the organization. That's what I truly, unequivocally believe about these new uniforms. Because you wouldn't go this radical just because you wanted change.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
This is
Right.
out there with these jerseys.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think this trade is imperative that it gets done.
Mm-hmm.
I think this deal's huge. The jersey launch is huge.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
mean,
It'd be cool to see. It'd be cool to see John Collins in a new Utah Jazz uniform, even if we do hate the threads. It'd be nice to see.
Yeah. By the way, the duds look a lot better on DeAndre Hunter than they do on Royce O'Neal.
Yeah,
You know
precisely what I'm
Like,
saying. Yeah,
that to
Yeah.
me makes a big difference. Tanner Plummer says, "Oh, by the way, what's the bet if Wiggins wins the Finals MVP? Jake owes me $1,000.
stop.
He owes me a G.
Just spent a G on equipment yesterday. Don't start with me.
Yeah, somebody noticed you got a new microphone.
Don't start
there.
with me.
Look at that new mic that Slick
Yeah.
is rocking over there.
Yeah, yeah, man. New car. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Yeah.
A lot of
I'm for real.
changes. A lot of changes coming to the show over the next 90 days. I would say,
I'm for real.
stick around. We have a lot of huge stuff. Hopefully, here in about 6-8 weeks,
Yeah.
we're going to make a huge announcement.
There's a process playing out. We're trying to get DeAndre Hunter back for our investment.
And we're standing pat.
Yeah.
We're standing
yeah,
pat.
we're standing pat.
There is a big deal coming. So stick around.
Facts.
We have a lot of exciting things. Make sure you shop our affiliate links. By the way, Amazon Prime Day is July 12th. We will have huge discount links for you.
Yeah.
In our affiliate links below coming up.
And you tell us what you're looking for on Prime Day, and we'll get you one.
Yeah, you
Swear.
tell us what you want on Prime Day, and I'll get you a link for it. This is supposedly one of the best Prime Days in the history of Amazon. If you are not an Amazon Prime member, hit me up. Send me a DM. I'll send you a link for a 50% discount on being a Prime member. I'm telling you now, you got to get Amazon Prime. It is the way the world spins.
Yes.
It is the way the world spins. You guys need to do more to your backdrop.
Who said that?
James Knight.
Yeah. Maybe we're working on it. Maybe we're not.
Yeah.
Maybe if we had 4X gold, we could do something more with our
Yeah,
backdrop.
maybe if we were drunk on Australian beer, James Knight, we could do something about it.
Yeah.
But we're not, because you welched on your bet. I'm kidding, James. We're working on it.
We actually, no, seriously, we are.
Yeah, trust me. Hang with us. There is a huge announcement coming. Huge. We are working on a big deal. Big Dog O-Town says, that's what I meant by teams playing hardball, not willing to give value for Rudy. Jazz might have to take on some garbage to facilitate a trade.
Shout out to Mobamba.
Yeah. Jeremy Bolton says, yeah, get rid of that sad excuse for a Ute mascot. We're going to talk Utes here in 5 minutes after we talk about the checkbook team known as the Golden State Warriors.
This pisses me off. I
Dude,
did not appreciate
let's
this.
talk NBA Finals on the Monty
Let's
Show.
go.
Make sure you give us a thumbs up. If you're here right now, please hit the thumbs up button. It really helps the channel grow. Give us a subscribe. When we get to 5,000 subscribers, we are going to give away a PlayStation 5. So Brian Windhorst, ESPN.
The 4-letter network.
NBA insider Brian Windhorst made a reference to the Golden State Warriors that tweaked Jake significantly when he said that Game 5 was a, quote, checkbook win.
Hey, you start talking shit.
For the Golden State Warriors. And I'm here to tell you that's exactly what it was, and that's not a bad thing. Why did that comment upset you so much?
It upsets me because it has a negative connotation. It sends the message that you think they only won the game because they shelled out a ton of money and they went and got a bunch of guys, which is not what's happened with the Warriors. And honestly, if you take a real, clear, concise look at the Warriors, I'm not disputing that they spend an F ton of money. I'm not disputing that. That's not my issue. I agree they spend a ton of money and pay a ton of luxury tax. My issue is calling it a checkbook win says that, hey, you just went out and bought a bunch of talent, which is not what they've done. This goes all the way back to, I don't even, can you look up when Steph was drafted? What year was Steph Curry drafted? Because that year was the beginning of what we're seeing today. That year, when they chose to give him a chance after the scouting report said some kid from Davidson was too small and couldn't shoot, what year is it?
2009.
2009, bro. 2009. So what is that, 13 years ago? 13 years ago, they are winning this championship today. And that's why I have an issue with it, because it undercuts everything they've done, from development of Steph, Clay, and Draymond to making trades for Wiggs that everyone said was a really dumb trade, and everybody thought, oh, well, D'Lo's the better player, and what are you doing, right? And then the decision, as you said before the show in the pre-show meeting.
The vaunted pre-show
behind the scenes.
Special meeting.
When you said, hey, there was criticism around, keeping Wiggs on the roster or not.
The guy makes $32 million. And what I said about that was that it took some cojones. It took some balls to keep Andrew Wiggins on that team.
Yeah.
There was a lot of speculation that the Golden State Warriors were going to cut and run on Andrew Wiggins because they're paying $170 million in luxury tax money.
Yeah.
But they didn't. And they didn't do that. And the reason that calling the Golden State Warriors a checkbook win, or their win a checkbook win, or them a checkbook team, is because it's not wrong. They have deeper pockets. And why do they have deeper pockets? Because they drafted better. The house that Steph built, Chase Center, is a monolith of awesomeness in San Francisco on the waterfront. They make more money than you. They spend more money than you. And now they're winning more championships than you.
But do you agree that that Windhorst saying it's a checkbook win is like, it has a negative connotation with how he was saying it?
I think when you're a Warriors apologist such as yourself.
I'm not.
And you're slurping Steph deep.
I'm not.
That I'm
not.
I think as a casual observer of the Golden State Warriors, you're offended by it. And I just don't believe that this is offensive. I think
seems like a great opportunity to slurp and splash.
Yeah, it does. Slurp and splash that MFer, boys. But I think they've earned it. And listen, if you're Brooklyn, okay, calling Brooklyn a checkbook team is an insult. If you're looking at Golden State, they've earned it. They're about to win their 4th ring in 8 years, drafting talented players. It's not a problem that Steph Curry is making $45 million.
No, it's not.
You drafted him. You developed him. He won you 3 rings. He's about to win a 4th. The guy has earned $10 million a season per ring. Who cares? Pay him. Because you have a deep checkbook.
If you felt these balls,
look at their ability to draft and develop. Look at their ability to take D'Angelo Russell and turn him into the NBA Finals MVP.
Please,
Andrew Wiggins, give me my $1,000.
Please,
I will pimp slap you. Anyway, the point is, it's not an insult. It's the truth. Bob Myers is the best general manager in the NBA.
He's a straight savage, man. I mean, there's no way around that.
That's why you can afford to build the Chase Center. That's why you can afford to pay Andrew Wiggins 32 when you're already paying Steph, 45.
I'm for real.
Because you drafted Steph, Clay, and Dre, and they stayed together. It's why you're able to bring in a guy like Andre Iguodala to help you win.
Yeah, and by the way, they've also got Jordan Poole, Jonathan Kuminga, James Wiseman. They've got all these guys. They're repeatedly executing in the draft, man.
When they lose, they win. When they win, they win.
Like, you're winning now, and you're clearly going to win for the next 5 years. Even if Steph were to retire in 3 seasons, you're still going to be relevant.
Andrew Wiggins really is a guy on that roster that you point to that they bought, if you will. But how did they buy him? They traded for him because they had acquired D'Angelo Russell.
Yep.
They just out-business you.
Yes.
They're better at the business of basketball. And again, if you want to compare and contrast them to the Utah Jazz, the Golden State Warriors are a far better organization, a superior organization to the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
When are the Utah Jazz building a monolith of modern proportion, an awesome house of basketball? They're not. They're at Vivint for the foreseeable future. To me, you have to be able to continue to grow and win. And right now, you have better owners in the Lakeups than you do in Ryan Smith. You have a far better general manager in Bob Myers than you did in Dennis Lindsey and now in Danny Ainge. There are a few executives I'd be hyped to get on this team other than Danny Ainge. Bob Myers is one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the best head coach in the NBA in Steve Kerr. We hire the best people.
Yeah. Yep.
They do hire the best people in Golden State.
Yeah.
They do. They went from Oakland to San Francisco. That's called good business, man. Like it's not a problem to call them a checkbook team. When they win the NBA Finals tonight, when they win the NBA championship tonight, when they close in 6 games, so things can start getting rolling with the draft and free agency. When they do that tonight, that's 4 championships in 8 years when you went through one of the worst stretches in modern NBA history with injuries to KD and Clay, like losing games. Oh, by the way, you turn that into Wiseman and Kuminga and, Jordan Poole. And they were able to keep Steph, Clay, Dre, and they add Andrew Wiggins. And now the question is, are you going to keep Andrew Wiggins or are you going to trade Klay Thompson?
We did what we did.
You probably can't do both.
It's tough, bro.
You probably can't do both.
Super tough.
Anyway, it's not an insult to call them a checkbook team.
Yeah.
It's not. Jeremy Bolton says you have to be twice the executive when you have half the money, though. True. And by the way, Golden State, when Bob Myers and the Lakeups got there, Golden State was not known as the team that spent all kinds of money.
Nope.
They weren't. So there's something to be said for that. Jeremy Bolton also says, I don't agree for the record. The Warriors did it right with drafting. Absolutely, they did. Eric said, if Boston didn't base the entire defensive game plan to stop Curry, Wiggins wouldn't be free to take over games. That said, Wiggins has absolutely shown up and took over games. It's amazing to me that even in this series, when you designed a defense to stop Steph, he still had big games.
Yeah.
But you haven't even seen their best rotation. I mean, when you look at Andrew Wiggins, Jordan Poole hasn't been able to play because he's just made awful decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So they took his minutes away and they gave him some back, and the kid has absolutely performed. How many half-court buzzer beaters are we getting from this guy in the finals?
Repeatedly, bro. Repeatedly.
They do basketball well. Eric, nobody knows that more than you. You get it. Brett Robbins says, man, Russell is almost as disappointing as Kwame Brown. I think D'Angelo Russell's a guy that needs a place like Utah. I would love to see them bring in a D'Angelo Russell where he can be not an alpha male, but like a 1B.
Yeah.
Because he's just gotten run out of Minneapolis because, oh, by the way, they've drafted really well.
Some guy named Anthony Edwards came in and lit it
up. Please.
I'm sorry, Ant.
Sorry. Edwards.
Sorry.
Fact is, keeping Wiggins to pair with Wiseman, Moody, Kuminga, and Peyton II means the Warriors have the next dynasty already on the team. Well, I think they're going to trade Wiseman. Because it doesn't make a lot of sense to keep Wiseman and Kuminga on the same roster. There's redundancy there. And I don't know. It depends on what you believe. Wiseman hasn't been able to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Frankly,
that's what I was going to say.
Neither has Kuminga, but
we haven't seen enough.
Yeah, I don't know who the better player is. I don't know that anybody really knows who the better player is. So we'll see. Cody Strickland says, hey, can we talk about something real like the food talk with the Monties soon? We must first.
Something real.
Yeah. Yeah. We must first discuss Kyle Whittingham's contract extension at the U. Throw up the U. How about the details of this Kyle Whittingham
This is ridiculous.
Deal?
This is an incredible deal.
Good old Kyle Whittingham, who damn near retired last year.
Yeah.
Kyle Whittingham gets a deal that kicks in January 1st in his 18th year, it will be then. 17 years right now, 143 and 70. And his new deal will take him to 6.83 annually, which is a $400,000 raise. That puts him in the ballpark of David Shaw at Stanford at $7 million, Riley at USC at $10 million. When he does finally retire, he gets a 5-year contract for $995,000 to be a special assistant / advisor to the athletic director. His grandkids get free tuition, and he gets a $1 million lump sum payout as a retirement gift. Oh, by the way, the best part if you're a Utah fan, there are $100,000 bonuses based on facilities development. If the Utes don't break ground on their new indoor football-only facility this year, Kyle Whittingham gets $100,000.
Now, remember, I just want to cut in. If they do not
break ground,
he gets a
$100,000 bonus.
Yeah.
If it's not done by the spring of 2024, Kyle Whittingham gets another $100,000 bonus. If they don't put new graphics on the walls in the Eccles football facility, he gets $100,000. If they don't put new carpet in the Eccles football facility, he gets $100,000. So not only is he getting paid, he has incentives in his contract that say if you don't upgrade the facilities, you're paying me money not to.
Right now, they share a facility with all the other sports.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Sports programs.
Yeah, it's absolutely, in my opinion, it's brilliant. It is.
You don't even have football-only facilities in your winning Pac-12 championships. It's insane. Like, it's insane.
The fact that Kyle Whittingham is the original BCS buster.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that Kyle Whittingham just took you to the Rose Bowl in a conference championship.
Yeah.
The fact that Kyle Whittingham is competing and beating teams like USC. The fact that Kyle Whittingham has made a pipeline to the NFL that runs through Sac Lake City. The fact that Kyle Whittingham is still standing today, 17 years later, at the University of Utah.
Yeah.
The fact that Rice-Eccles Stadium has been completely renovated. The fact that it's unfreaking believable what this guy has done at Utah. And there's every reason to believe he had 1.5 foot out the door with Chris Hill and the adversity that this team has faced over the last year, the job that Kyle Whittingham has done continuing to build faith and family and community at Utah.
Yeah.
The recruiting job, the facilities job, the fundraising job, the booster job, the NIL job needs work. Kyle Whittingham has earned every penny that this team and this university will ever pay him.
Yeah.
This is absolutely the right move. And A.D. Harlan was the right hire, and this move cements that.
Yeah.
You look at the changes in the basketball program, you look at the changes in the upgrades in the football program, Utah athletics is not back. They are here to stay. And I think, with all due respect to what's going down, TDS, team down south
the
there,
little brother,
Big 12, D's nuts.
Yeah, Built Bars and stuff.
With all due respect, Utah is set up to win for the next 5 years. And that's what you have to do. And as much momentum, and I still think BYU is the behemoth in this state. I think that BYU is the football program in the state. Utah's not doing half bad. And I think that Utah and BYU are going to compete at the top of their conferences for the foreseeable future. Football in this state, with this contract extension, football in this state has been secured now for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And I think that this is, I can't understate it. The guy just is incredible.
Yeah, he's one of those people. I think he's one of those people in sports where you know what you're going to get. You know you're getting a high level of execution. You know you're getting the quality. You know you're getting a really well-run program. You don't have to worry about what you have to worry about when Urban Meyer is your head coach. It's a good program.
And bringing up Urban Meyer is very apropos because, you look at Urban and you look at the fact that Kyle was under Urban when Urban was here. And, I give more credit for the BCS buster thing to Kyle Whittingham because Kyle Whittingham is the one that built these defenses. Kyle Whittingham is the one that has lasted and stayed and been the brand at Utah football. So when I say, hey, BCS buster Kyle Whittingham, yeah, he earned that. He absolutely earned that. And when you look at the competition, and BYU had everything last year, the Big 12 announcement, the big wins, you go back to Zach Wilson being number 2 in the draft. They had everything.
Mm-hmm.
Utah had nothing but tragedy and rain and clouds and darkness and a Pac-12 championship and a bid and a berth in the Rose Bowl.
Crazy.
And there's only one guy that deserves credit for that, and that's Kyle Whittingham. And I just don't think that you can say enough. The ability to stay in one place for 17 years and get an extension and get $1 million retirement parachute and get a $995,000 annual salary for the next 5 years after you retire.
Yeah.
that a university will pay for your grandkids to go to college, it tells you the place that Kyle Whittingham has in the lineage, in the history, in the tradition, and the future of Utah athletics.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be buildings named after him, and there should be. And there should be. I think the guy is just, what he's done is remarkable. I could go on and on. I have so much respect and just so much love for Kyle Whittingham and what he's accomplished at Utah.
Yeah.
He has earned everything that he is getting and more. Jeremy Bolton says, why don't you guys and Wick get a room? Because his calves and my calves won't fit in the same room.
How about that?
Though I will admit, Jeremy Bolton says, Witt does have some pretty good calves. Thank you. Kyle Whittingham was the original BCS buster, Tanner says. Actually, that was Urban Meyer, but yes, no, that was Kyle Whittingham. That was Kyle Whittingham. Eric and Raleigh says, can someone tell me what a Ute is? No. Erich De Vera. I'm just guessing in Australia, a Ute short for utility vehicle. Incorrect. Do people really not know what a Ute is?
Google it.
That's crazy. Urban set the table for Whittingham, Loverin says. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but Urban deserves no credit for what Kyle Whittingham has been able to do.
Witt was the legs of the table then.
Yeah.
Like, it's not worth getting over.
Yeah.
They've been slurping BYU for the past couple of months now, Tanner says. Well, we don't see, this is the beautiful part about this show. We don't have to slurp anybody. Like, we are not tied to our independence and our ability to be unbiased is where our win is.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to do any of that.
Has BYU not had all the wins in the state the last year?
They have.
Are you guys saying we went out of our way? Because I don't feel like we went out of our way. I think BYU went out of their way.
No, I would agree with that. I think that college football in this state has never been more well positioned to compete at the top of college football.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think any of us would be surprised if Utah or BYU won a national championship in the next 5 years. I certainly would not. I think the road is steeper for BYU entering the Big 12, but there's no reason to believe that Kyle Whittingham and Utah can't compete for a national championship, that they can't earn a spot in the college football playoff. There's not after what we saw last year. And if Cam Rising continues to grow and develop, there's no reason to believe he won't.
Yeah.
There's no reason to believe that they can't pipeline quarterbacks the way that they've done defensively. You obviously you want to keep growing your quarterbacks, and they need better depth at wide receiver. You're losing a foundational piece to what's been your program in Britton Covey, who's a Philadelphia Eagle now. Like,
who, by the way, people are raving about.
I mean, you're building good character guys, and to me, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they won a national championship at Utah. It just wouldn't. I think that Harlan's done a really good job since he arrived. I mean, I don't know anybody that was sad to see Chris Hill go. I don't.
Yeah.
I really don't. So I think BYU and Utah are both in really powerful positions right now. And it's just a matter of continuing the process.
Yeah.
So, and spring football at BYU, I think this was one of their best springs that they've had recently. I think this was the best spring that Kalani Sitake's had as the head football coach at BYU. So from everybody down there that I've talked to, and the what you see from the players and what you see, like they're gonna be very good this year. I'm excited about that. All right. Yeah. So now we have come to the non-sports stories portion of the program.
Yes, Cody Strickland, so aptly wanted.
Rough day for the Audi SQ5 yesterday. So you know that I am a huge German auto fan.
Right.
Beamer, Audi. I'm not a Mercedes guy at all.
No.
I love my Audi. Klaus
Right.
is the name of my Audi. I drive a 2018 Audi SQ5. Red leather, stitched interior.
Really nice.
Twin turbo V6. Beautiful machine.
I'm for real.
Beautiful automobile. Like, just beautiful. And I've owned it for a year and a month, and it has been flawless. Then I let my wife drive the car. Went out to the garage yesterday, had a big meeting yesterday. Run out to the garage, hop in the Audi, and it did the whoa. Like it did the slow start. And then all of a sudden, I got error codes all over the place. Like through errors everywhere.
This is a code 10 abort.
Like the one error said, switch the ignition to the off position to avoid further damage. Like, oh God. So I don't know 2 F's about fixing cars.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
And so the rocket ship's broken, so I call for a tow, and that's a nightmare on its own.
Mm-hmm.
But I called my guys at Audi Lehigh, and they were like, "Oh yeah, man, have it brought in. Have it brought in. We'll get it taken care of for you." Call American Family, who's my insurance company.
Mm-hmm.
And it is kind of a problem to get a tow set up these days. It took about 45 minutes just to answer all the questions on the automated system before you talk to somebody at American Family Roadside Assistance, who they hire a firm. And then you got to answer all the same questions again, but it takes about half the time because you're talking to a human. So it was really frustrating. It ruined my afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And then the tow truck driver arrived, and everything got better. Everything started going downhill from there. Like you had been, and when I say downhill, I mean it got super easy. Tow truck driver calls me. Hey, is this Tim? Hey, I got the message. You need your Audi picked up. Is it in a place where I can get my flatbed? Yeah, absolutely. No problem. Guy rolls up. I walk out of the garage. I'm like, hey, he's like, are you the one that called? Yep. And the first thing he says to me is, wow, nice Jordans. And we start talking about Jordans.
Yeah.
And the guy says to me, you know, the reason I love Jordans and I collect some Jordans is my mom would never let me have them when I was a kid. So now as an adult, I buy Jordans, which is the exact same reason I have over 100 pairs of Jordans.
Okay, so you guys hit it off.
So then the last tow truck experience I had was probably 10 years ago with the Volvo.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy like actually bent a wheel on my Volvo trying to put it on the flatbed. Like it was a real pain in the ass. So I said to this tow truck driver yesterday, hey, do you mind if I drive it up onto the flatbed? And he goes, oh no, please do. Cool, man. So he lets me drive it up onto the flatbed. It's perfect. He drives away. He takes it straight to Audi Lehigh. And then I get a text message from him with a picture of the business card of the guy that he had dropped it off to. And not 5 minutes later, the guy at Audi Lehigh calls me and he's like, hey, is this so-and-so? I'm like, yep. And he's like, hey, we got your Audi SQ5. By the way, very thorough tow driver. He did a great job.
Yeah.
I was like, cool, man. That's awesome. And then the guy at Audi Lehigh, and I want to shout him out. Where's my phone?
Where's the old iPhone 13 Pro Max?
Yeah,
huge phone.
huge dome.
You know, yeah.
I want to shout this guy out.
Yeah, shout him out.
Arturo. At Audi Lehigh. Arturo calls me and he's like, hey, I know this is a really stressful situation. It looks like you've never been here before.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, you know, I test drove some Porsches, you know, a couple of months ago, but yeah, he goes, so you've never had this car serviced here? I said, no, really, we've never really serviced it at all. We've just had the recommended maintenance done, and it's been a gem. And so we were talking about it. He goes, yeah, these are great cars. And he said, yeah, I can see your service record. And he's like, what happened? And I was like, well, you know, this X, Y, and Z. I tell him the story. And the guy's like, well, that's great news because that's your battery probably. He said, it's one of two things. And he said, well, let's hope it's the battery because when the battery is almost dead, like it throws a bunch of error codes because the computer doesn't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, but if it is the CPU, that's about $6,000 and it's not covered.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I just want you to be aware of that. Brace yourself. And I was like, oh boy. And he said, yeah, but you're only at 38,000 miles. I don't think
it's the CPU.
I'm guessing it's the battery. He said, but you know, honestly, we won't be able to look at it tonight. We're closed. Would it be okay if we looked at it tomorrow? And I was like, yeah, man, no problem at all. I know I just dropped it off on you. And he's like, yeah, no worries. He's like, we're going to get to it as soon as we can. It'll be locked up. We'll take great care of it. I'm going to call you tomorrow either way and just kind of give you an update on it. Would that be okay?
Well,
I was like, God damn.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's great. I really appreciate the phone call and the level of service. He said, my pleasure. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Amazing. The tow driver then calls me. Hey, did you hear from the guy at Audi? He told me he was going to call you, but I want to make sure. I was like,
Incredible.
Yeah. He called me.
Absolutely incredible.
And the tow guy called me. Like, it was a great experience. Like, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, it's been so rare to get great service. You know, I mean, that's been really hard to find.
And once we got off the phone with American Family, everything went smoothly, perfectly.
Yeah.
Good news is we had the Jeep. So we were able to hop in the Jeep and get to our meeting and execute that thing, come back home. Like, was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Klaus
I mean, I think it's awesome that it went off well. You know, I mean, I think that the tow truck experience can be kind of rough. You know?
It can.
And I think that
it can.
I think that it all started with American Family doing their job, but I think that we'll see. You know, Audi Lehigh did a good job starting out. Let's see how they go through the process.
Yeah, and honestly, the Audi dealerships we've dealt with, Strong Auto was great when I bought the car. I bought the car downtown from Strong Auto, had a really good experience. But the Lehigh is my closest Audi dealer, so that's where they wanted to tow it to.
Mm-hmm.
They would not tow it downtown.
Yeah.
So had to take it to Audi Lehigh, and those guys were great. I mean, the thing, I don't trust tow companies. I honestly, I've had a very difficult history with tow companies. So it was nice. South Jordan Towing is the name of the tow company. And it was really just, if you need a tow and you're in the area here in South Jordan, because I live in South Jordan, obviously, I would call South Jordan Towing.
Yeah.
They did a phenomenal job for me. So can't say enough about that. Now, having said that, I feel really fortunate because I'm telling you, the auto service thing is very difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
It is. You're backed up weeks right now. If you call somebody today and you're like, hey, man, bought my car there, need to get a lube oil filter, they're going to laugh at you.
But that's why I say, you know, when I've been given crap on the show about not wanting to go to dealers, that's why.
Yes.
Because they're a big box store, essentially, with all due respect. And I'm not saying they do bad work, but the level of service, it's 99% of the time is not that high. And that's why I say I was really impressed with Audi Lehigh, you know, executing that, because that's what they did. They executed.
Tanner Plummer says, oh, great. Is this another Karen Montemayor story?
Hey, guys.
No, it's not another Karen Montemayor story. Mrs. Monty.
But I think this is, and we talked about this, I think this is the way it's going to be. I think that companies have less staff.
Yes.
We can't assume that we can get on-demand service anymore.
No, you can't.
I don't feel like we can. And I think it's something we have to get used to because we've had that for a long time where it's instant gratification, on-demand service.
But here's so let's use Vail Resorts as an example of this.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't know, Vail Resorts had supposedly, all reports from Vail Resort was, we're broke. The word I can't say, where you get the face thing and the jab in the arm, the period over the last couple of years changed the ski industry.
Right.
The coronavirus.
Right.
And this year we had long lift lines and lifts, in Park City specifically here. But we saw it in Tahoe when we were there. We saw it at Mammoth when we were at Mammoth.
Yeah, North Star was embarrassing, dude. Honestly.
They had half their lifts were closed. They didn't have enough lifties working. But I bring all of this up to say, Vail Resorts then laid off a bunch of their executives and changed their management structure, and then had a public statement at one of their meetings the other day that said, we got this season completely wrong. And they were, I don't want to say forced to do it, but they only did that because the numbers came out that this was the most robust year in the last decade for traffic at ski resorts in Utah and in Colorado.
Yeah.
14 million people. 14 million people. And so Vail Resorts came out and said, yeah, we got it completely wrong.
So I said, yeah.
We should have paid people more. They've raised their minimum wage now. The lowest dollar figure they'll pay somebody is $20 an hour at Vail Resorts. And they said, yeah, we should have had more people on the ground. We did not staff correctly. We did not plan correctly. And we did not pay correctly.
Yeah.
And that's actually a refreshing breath of air. But here's the thing. When is everybody else going to do that? Because I think it's a bunch of trash to sit here and say, well, we can't find employees. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I think low-level jobs in fast food restaurants, I believe that. I think it's complete trash. People are charging more money than they've ever charged in fees and costs to do things that, frankly, it's gas. Oh, gas shortage. There's no gas shortage. We have petroleum products to make gasoline, to make diesel, to make oil. And yet, what are you doing? You are still charging more money for gas because you can, and people will pay it.
Because it's garbage.
And I don't buy it anymore that companies now are saying, well, we just can't hire.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
And I do believe there is a labor shortage. We have incredibly low unemployment. But I would agree with the aspect that companies want to make more and more and more and more profits,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Any publicly traded company needs to keep their, and I say this in quotes, their stockholders happy. And then that's what they focus on. And that money is not going to their employees. It's going to their stockholder returns.
Yep.
And I think that organizations are going to have to look at, wait a minute, if we want to provide the level of customer service that keeps us being your business of choice,
Yep.
we might have to sacrifice slightly lower profits
Yep.
in order to do that. You either want to be the best or you want to try and be the richest, and you're going to have a terrible balance between happiness of customers and profits.
Yes. Cody Strickland says, any chance I can hear a major bag alert drop? I missed that drop. While you look for that, I see 3-4 people saying I came here for Jazz Talk. Every day, there's a ton of new listeners to the show. I totally understand that. The first hour and a half of the show usually is all sports. The last 30 minutes of the show is usually non-sports. And if you'd like Jazz Talk, just start from the beginning. Our Jazz Talk today was 54 minutes. So please feel free, hop in and start from the beginning. But every day we end the show with non-sports topics. Do we have a major bag alert? And by the way,
really that simple.
we play drops and we read everybody's comments. This is an interactive show. Thank you for being here. We have as many listeners now as we have ever had. There's so many new people to the show. Appreciate you guys commenting.
Speaking of the major bag alert, did you share with everyone the door knocker?
No.
Come on.
So these two Jag bags over here aren't getting me a gift for
Jag
Father's Day because they just don't care about my feelings. So I sent them a link the other day for a door knocker, like you're on your front door. And it was a guy with huge testicles, and his testicles are actually the thing that hits the door. They wouldn't buy it for me.
I feel like maybe the HOA wouldn't be okay with this.
You make excuses.
What?
That's an excuse. Getting fined. And by the way, we need to talk about the HOA as well, because this is a big deal. And I know there's a ton of HOAs in Utah. The HOA is a scam because you miss one HOA payment, and we've never missed an HOA payment, knock on wood, thank goodness for that.
Right.
If you're to miss one HOA payment, they're trying to repossess your house, right?
Right.
Like they're trying to lien your house.
Right.
But where are they to do our landscaping? Where are they to trim our bushes? They don't. Where are they to paint our house? Because in the HOA, we live in a townhouse. They're responsible for the outside of the house. Where's the outside maintenance? Where's the landscaper to cut the bushes? Like the bushes in my house are so overgrown that they're growing through the screens on our windows.
Yeah. Well, not they are. They have already. Like
Yes.
they put holes in your screen.
By the way, when you call the HOA, nobody answers. And you have to wait and menu and they leave a message. We'll never call you back.
We do need to go to an HOA meeting so we can
Yeah, it's time. It is like I am so frustrated with my HOA, and there's nothing you can do about it.
And they know that.
There's nothing you can do about it.
Well, you can get involved. That's your option.
Yeah.
You can get involved.
But who's got time to get involved in an HOA?
Yeah.
And that's what I would say to people. Listen, we're paying, and by the way, I live in Daybreak, and our HOA is almost $500 a month, I think.
Jesus Christ.
Right? $488.
Dude.
No,
I think it's $488 a month.
Dude.
And we don't get anything for that, essentially. We have beautiful parks and green spaces. Okay, cool. Trim my bushes. Do the landscaping that you're supposed to do. My back alley is just a weed garden right now. And they don't trim it and they don't care. I walked up to a landscaper last week and I said, hey, can you trim these bushes? They're overgrown, they're growing. And I said to the guy, look, it's growing through my window. Not schedule. Not schedule. Call office. Not schedule. That's what I get from the landscaper. And it's like, dude, the bushes are so overgrown that they're blocking part of the alley now. It's ridiculous. Anyway, there you go. I feel better. By the way, speaking of real estate prices, not that I say I told you so, but I told you so. I'm well hung and I'm good looking. I told you so. There is a market correction currently happening.
Oh.
What?
So we are real estate investors of sorts in that we've tried and we haven't found an equity play that we like. And so we follow the real estate market very closely. So we have been telling you that there was going to be an influx of inventory for the spring market. There was a massive influx of inventory in the state of Utah for the spring market.
Mm.
The problem is we are now approaching pre-pandemic days on market. So before the period of time, sorry, Jake, before the period of time that YouTube doesn't want us to talk about.
The coronavirus.
We used to have a robust real estate
Yeah,
market.
it wasn't selling in 5 minutes with 150 offers.
But now we've gotten to the point where there's so much inventory that is so vastly overpriced
Yeah.
that they're not selling and they're not garnering offers. And now the National Association of Realtors put out a stat the other day on Monday, I believe it was, that requests for showings have not gone up. And what does that tell you? Everything's overpriced. So we're not selling houses anymore. We're not asking to look at your house that's for sale. So people are frankly getting on Zillow, looking at the price of your house and flipping.
Yep.
And just going right past it.
That's what I do.
And it's pretty remarkable that real estate, which has been fairly bulletproof over the last 100 years, that real estate now is starting to have a correction at the consumer level, which has never happened before. There's never been a time where the consumer has been able to say, no, this is overpriced. And that's exactly what's happening because realtors and real estate professionals at the broker level and at the agent level now are having to listen to what the consumer is saying.
Shocker.
Their feedback, the feedback of the consumer is vitally important. And I say it's about time because real estate, if you're a millennial, you cannot afford to buy a house.
Nope.
You can't. And the funny thing is we have a relative that's moving to Tennessee and selling in Los Angeles.
Yep.
And they're going to be able, based on the price of their home in Los Angeles, they should be able to pay almost all cash in Tennessee if they want.
Yep.
So there are certain corners of the world where you can still do that.
Yeah, but you had to fall into a house to do it. And that's what happens in California. You have someone who passes away, and then you inherit that house, and then you inherit an opportunity.
That's how generational wealth is built.
Yes.
Is inheritance.
Yeah.
And that's why there's a big gap in generational wealth is because if you live below middle class, if you can't afford to buy a home, then you can't afford to pass it on when you pass away. And that's like the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. So
yes,
that's just what happens. And I know that's what will happen with my nieces. Like, I hope that is what happens for you, but that is the way that you build generational wealth. Right?
It is. I mean, the richest people in this world generally are through attrition. The Jeff Bezoses of the world are very rare. The Elons of the world are very rare. It's more like the Donald Trump story where, his dad was a real estate investor and seeded him to start. Like, that's generally how things go.
But Donnie started from scratch. He didn't have any money. Come on.
But that's how, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. It's not a blight on you that you got an inheritance and you inherited a home. And I mean, we know people that have inherited 3 homes. And hey, that's great. You better do something with it because winning the lottery doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. By the way, Spencer Morgan, good to see you, my friend. We just talked about Kyle Whittingham. Where have you been? He says, love the Karen Montemayor stories. Barry says, no more Karen Montemayor stories today. Just one, Monty. Just one. And it wasn't really even the Karen Montemayor story is going to happen when I get the HOA guy on the phone.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
No, it won't, because you can't be on the bad side of your HOA. It's just one of those things where generational wealth is not a blight. And I think guys like Donald Trump or Elon largely made his bit at SpaceX and at Tesla. And, Elon obviously comes from money, but he almost lost every dime he had. He freely admits that at SpaceX, they were done. They were one crash, one more, because they had crash after crash. They were one crash away from being out of business. And now they're NASA's preferred provider for, moving rockets and astronauts. And
it's fascinating what they've been able to do with SpaceX. I know that Elon Musk, not everybody's favorite.
Controversial.
I know that Tesla's a question.
Yeah.
But what they've done with SpaceX, driving it to that point of almost not surviving.
By the way,
Is
did you guys see that Bitcoin was at 20,500 and right now today it's down 1,600? It's at 20,963. If it goes under 20,000, it's a catastrophe. It is. Bitcoin and crypto are teetering. If Bitcoin falls below 20,000,
people are tired of the BS, man. Tired of overpriced houses, tired of Bitcoin being a scam. I
also think we are truly seeing the signs of a recession. I got an alert on my phone today that Revlon, a company that has been in business for almost 100 years, is filing for bankruptcy protections. They do plan to keep going, but they are filing for bankruptcy.
It is amazing to me that crypto is at 20K. It's shocking. It's unfathomable. What is going on? And now we're going to get another rate hike. And you look at what's going on the
and
Dow.
Not a small one.
No, not a small one. You look at what's going on the Dow, and you see today that you're looking at crypto absolutely bleeding people dry.
Yep.
And I guess I'm not shocked. This is the thing. I almost feel guilty about this. I actually think this is an incredibly necessary period of time.
Yeah.
We have lived. Look at what's going on at Yellowstone.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what's going on in the Midwest, the Northeast, and the South with these heat waves. We are living in excess, and we continue to just blow our feet off in this world by not caring that we're living in excess. So Tesla will put $1.6 billion into Bitcoin, and they will sell you a car with Bitcoin, and it's crushing, by all accounts, it is crushing and suffocating Tesla to the point where Elon can no longer probably afford to buy Twitter, where he is forcing people to return to the office at Tesla so that he can have mass layoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you understand what's going on in our world? And a lot of people, you know what? Frankly, if you're just living la-di-da, living your life and thriving, I'm happy for you. But I'm not the guy. I pay attention to the news. Like for this show and the growth and scale of this show that's coming, we pay attention to the news every day.
Yeah.
And you watch the way that we have lived in excess for the last decade. This is, what's the right way? Darwinism, maybe? Or this is natural correction.
Yeah, I mean,
this
it's
is
what has to happen. I mean, there's an ebb and a flow, mean, a highs, low. I mean, it's what happens.
I'm not rooting for anybody to fail. But guys like Elon Musk that have lived in excess, this is the correction. This is what you've brought on yourself. And whether we point back to 2014 and the White House dinner, the correspondence dinner that forced Donald Trump to run for president, or that moment in time changed the trajectory of this planet.
Yeah.
And I think we're now seeing the repercussions of some of these issues. Bitcoin and the AMC to the moon, Doge to the moon, GameStop to the moon. You can't live like that. You can't. And it's crippling. You look at what's going on with Bitcoin. It's the perfect example of just how stupid and greedy we are as humans.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that ends. I honestly and truly don't know where that ends. And I think it ends when you practice chakra, brah.
Oh dear.
So yes, I'm a big my faith and my spirituality has evolved significantly over the last decade.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big believer in universal energy. I just am. I feel like one of the things I really enjoy doing is just stopping and listening. Like when we were down at Arches several weeks ago, and it didn't happen, but I really wanted to find a place to be alone and just sit with my thoughts. I'm a big believer that that's where I find answers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying I'm praying and God's talking to me because I'm special and unique on my spaceship.
God bless.
It's not what I'm saying.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying. But I do believe in it was lovely. We were driving up to Yellowstone in the Tetons 2 weeks ago. And we stopped in, I think, just short of Jackson, and there was this big river, and like there was a bench next to this river, and I just sat as everybody else walked down to the river. I sat on this bench and just baked in the sun, listening to whatever I was hearing. And it's just something that I think is really important. And so yesterday I was watching videos, and there was a video about this wackadoo chakra bra. And he's talking about rubbing your feet and sticking your foot up your own ass, and that's where you get
I'm going to
close.
get medieval on your ass.
And anal reflexology and, stuff. And apparently your foot has a lot of fiber in it, and I'm totally making all this up. But this guy was basically saying, drive your feet into your groin, sit Indian style, and listen to the wind. And so I was like, you know what? I'm a big believer in that. And I didn't even get to say, like, sitting and listening. And Brett's like, oh, Shaka's bullshit. And there's no science and, whatever.
Oh. Because the other guy continues with, have you ever seen white spots in your nails? It's an indication that your chakras are blocked. And I'm like, it's not no, it's not. That is not an indication. Your chakras are not blocked. No.
You don't believe in traditional Chinese medicine. Totally get that. But we're talking to one of the videos I was watching yesterday was about reflexology. And the fact that foot massage and reflexology plays a vital role in blood flow in your brain. And that there was a Joe Rogan clip in this video. It was an inspirational video, frankly.
Right.
And there was a Joe Rogan clip in this video where Joe Rogan was talking about how he practices reflexology, I believe is what he was saying, and that it's made a difference for him in blood flow and relaxation in his ability to think clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And he believes that has played a role in his mental toughness. And Mrs. Monty was like, no, total bullshit. Blah, blah, blah. Science my ass. And so I'm telling you, you ought to try it. Just sit and think and be with your thoughts.
I'm not saying there is evidence that meditation is very good.
Are you out of your goddamn mind?
There are a lot of benefits. There is no scientific evidence that rubbing your feet is going to increase your blood flow and make you think clearer.
How about that?
Well, how do you know? I'm just saying.
Do you want me to get you some good articles that talk about how there's no evidence there?
No, not really, because
Okay.
I don't want the truth.
Yeah,
Jeremy Bolton says you couldn't
exactly.
sit alone and quiet in your thoughts at Arches because of the Subarus cruising through making noise.
I was disturbed by the motorcycles that we were sitting there. We did find a nice place to sit. And we did end up hearing like a group of motorcycles.
Yeah, I like how everyone hates on Subarus, and we got Harleys out here just riding around,
Totally. And at Yellowstone a couple weeks ago. We're walking up to this sulfur pond, and there's a bunch of motorcycles on the road in Yellowstone, like just loud blowing Harleys.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally true. And I will say the one arch that was totally desolate is Corona Arch, only because it's really difficult to get to. But it's just I love that feeling of being alone. Like I love that feeling of just being alone with the thoughts in your head, and people need to shut and just.
Meditation is very good for you.
Yeah, and one of the things I like to do is like the Ferguson Canyon hike, right?
Yeah.
There's a huge rock at the
Midpoint.
not the halfway point, but when you get to the top of Ferguson Canyon, there's a huge rock that you can sit on. And there's another probably 100, 200 feet you got to go to get up to the, to get up to the final climb at the top of Ferguson. And just sitting on that rock and hearing the water flow. This, by the way, is the best time of year to hike in the canyons, in the cottonwoods, because the rivers are flowing, the streams are flowing, the birds are chirping.
Mm-hmm.
Like that to me is really sitting on that rock at the top of Ferguson's amazing. So I love that.
No, I mean, I think it's,
Body, mind, and soul spirit are keys to balance. Talking with Raphael says. Fat Jesus says, I listen to Shaka Khan every day. Get it? See Chakra Bra, Shaka Khan?
right. You
I
get
love
that?
the Fat Jesus humor.
Shaka Khan.
Love.
Fat Jesus also says, I want less jazz talk. They bought Jake's real dad a Father's Day gift. And Tanner, I think it's Growcock. They bought Jake's real dad. See, he also says about the Audi, Fat Jesus says, when they keep it overnight, they rent it out to hookers. I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard that. And there have been snail trails on the seats.
Well,
so,
I mean, that's something that tends to happen.
Ramiro says, touching his wife's feet and sticking your tongue in her holiest of holies ain't even the same sport. Look for foot massage, don't mean S. Look, foot massages don't mean.
Wow.
I've given a woman a foot massage.
Yeah.
Do you know where that's from?
No.
The Jules, oh my God, the John
Pulp Fiction.
I'm giving a woman a foot massage. James Knight says, I meditate every day to a can of 4X labeled, label it highly effective. Yeah, I wouldn't know because you don't send me 4X.
That's cute. I remember when I had my first beer.
Talking with Raphael podcast wants to know if I got a Father's Day gift yet.
The hell out of here, man.
It's not Father's Day yet.
My gift is all the money we're putting into our significant investments. That's my gift.
By the way, what did I do for Father's Day this year?
I don't know.
Picked out a hike for my wife and I to go take.
There you
And
go.
what did I do?
Nothing.
Taking you to dinner at Ruth Chris.
Oh. I'm giving up my Sunday to go hiking for 7 hours straight uphill both ways.
In the snow.
Oh, please.
There is snow up there, actually. We're going to Twin Lakes and Cottonwood. So anyway, we got to go.
Yeah.
We're up against the clock.
Bye.
Pleasure to see you. Thanks to everybody who's here. I know this show's growing a lot right now. Thank you for being here. Please give us a thumbs up if you're here watching the show. Give us a thumbs up. We really, it means the world to us. We're really trying to grow this show. And again, I would just tell you, when we get to 5,000 subscribers, we're giving away a PS5 in there. We are working on some very big things for this show, so stick around for that. NBA Finals wrap up tonight in Boston because the Warriors are winning in 6.
NBA season comes to an end tonight, boys.
You're going to watch Jake peel off 10 $100 bills on the show tomorrow because Andrew Wiggins is winning the MVP. Until then, say checkbook stuff.
Yeah, checkbook stuff.